Yes. And what happened?
Mics are live.
No, it's not on yet.
What
They are
happened?
now.
Steve Shirtler is the speaker. Sergeant at Arms Walter Sword.
They just turned on.
All right, so why don't we call the meeting to order of the Finance Committee of November 15th, 2018. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
I am present. Alderman Kelly. Alderman at Large Laws.
Here.
Alderman Clee. Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderman Harriet Gathright. And our chair, Mayor Donches.
Here.
Great.
First item is public comment. Anybody from the public wish to address the committee? If not, we'll go to communications. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding Kronos optimization with a value of $13,500. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to HRTM Consulting in the amount of $13,500. Source of funding is Department 111, Human Resources General Operating Fund.
And I think Nick Mizovich is here on this, correct? We want to come up just in case there are any questions. You've got, I think you have 3 or 4 items. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding backup solution with a value of $22,892. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the purchase to Access Business Services in the amount of $22,892. Funds are available in Department 122, Information Technology, General Operating Fund.
Any questions?
So
Alderman Laws.
this is, thank you, Mayor. This was, if I'm not mistaken, this is the one where it's default, or it's faulty equipment that we have right now, correct? That you're replacing?
Faulty software.
Faulty software. All right. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract renewal internet service with a value of $1,214 monthly. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and renew the contract with Consolidated Communications, Inc. for a monthly amount of $1,214. Source of funding is Department 122, Information Technology, General Operating Fund.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication
Thank you
from
very much.
Thank you. Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding Motorola maintenance and system upgrade agreements with a value of $174,868. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contracts to Motorola in the amount of $174,868. Funds are available in Department 157, Citywide Communications General Operating Fund.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding 2018 paving program, Newport contract change order number 3, with a value of $209,180. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 3 to the contract with Newport Construction in the amount of $209,180. Source of funding is Department 160 Administration Engineering Paving Bonds.
And we have Mr. Dukaran, the city engineer, here on the next several items, if you have questions or comments. Any discussion on this item? Alderwoman Kelly.
I was just wondering if you could give us a general overview of how the paving program is going. We definitely hear about it, so want to know what it's coming from on your end.
So the paving program, Steve Dukaran, city engineer, the paving program this year has two parts to it. It has the piece that's paid for with the large city bond, and the next one is being paid for primarily with the federal grant, federal highway grant. The large paving program is it's pretty much done for the year. We just finished Concord Street, and in my opinion, it went rather well. We did a lot of work, a lot more work than we've been used to over several years in the past, and I was pleasantly surprised that we could get this much done this year. We got, I think, like 25 miles done when we typically would just get 5 miles in 1 year. Some hiccups, there are always drainage problems inherent in the program, and the program is meant as a pavement management program, not to solve drainage problems. We try to solve the obvious ones. We don't have the funds to fix all the drainage problems, but we try to at least address those that we can with the limited funds that we have. Some streets we didn't get to because of utility issues, gas, water, sewer. We had to add some streets that came up towards the end because of the condition over the last winter, the deterioration that was more significant when we were putting the plan together. So we added those streets as well. So overall, I would think we had a pretty successful year despite the issues. Under the federal program, which we the next item actually we'll talk about, we did the binder pavement on Somerset Parkway and Amherst Street. We couldn't get to the tops simply because it got too cold and the amount of work that's needed to be done. So we are closing up those two streets. Some striping will be done next week, and Kingsley Street is next on the list for that program. We can't get to Kingsley Street to do what we had planned, but what we decided over the last 2 days is that the street department will do a shimming, a thin layer over the worst part of Kingsley Street in 2 weeks. It's for a small amount of money. We will do that just to have at least a good rideable surface over the winter time. It's not expected to last long, so next year we'll come in and do the proper paving that we had planned. There's still some utility work to be done, and that also caused the paving to be pushed out the slate. So that we also have an item, and you'll see the sewer work for Kingsley Street. So that's essentially what we deal with when it comes to paving. We're always chasing utilities. It's always worse than anticipated, but we deal with it.
Yeah.
Were there any unexpected, especially on Kinsley, that kind of pushed you back more, or is that typical to what you would have seen?
Well, the item that I'm talking about on Kinsley, there is a sewer, which I'll call an unknown sewer that we found, and that has to be dealt with. So that work hasn't been done yet. And then water came in towards the end. We got to get the water in. Gas did their work. Fortunately, gas got their work in earlier. They're still doing some trenches across the street to make connections and so on. But those we weren't. In fact, the gas company only came in this year. Normally, we know ahead of time, a couple of years ahead of time, their work. But they said they had to get on Kingsley Street this year, so we had to let them go first. And they spent a lot of time, especially on the the western end of the street near the hospital. We always anticipate problems with utilities, but in this case, on Kinsley, the amount of work that they needed to do was surprising. But we can't say no, because the last thing you want to do is pave the street and then have a gas failure or something like that, and then your street's all torn up again.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding 2018 federal paving program. Change order number 1 with a value of $611,548. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 1 to the contract with Newport Construction in the amount of $611,548. Funds are available in Department 160, Administration Engineering, New Hampshire DOT Nashua Roadway Improvements Grant, and paving bonds.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding 2018 sewer replacement Kinsley Street change order number 1 with a value of $27,000. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve change order number 1 to the contract with Newport Construction in the amount of $27,000. Source of funding is Department 169, wastewater.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding water booster station project construction phase services with a value of $93,000. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to Woodard Curran in the amount of $93,000. Funds are available in Department 169 wastewater.
Thank you for coming. Could you please introduce yourself and give us an explanation of the water booster station project?
I'm William Keating, wastewater engineer. I'm sitting in for Dave Boucher tonight. The water booster station is a project at the wastewater plant to replace the existing one, which is outdated and need of complete upgrades. Provides drinking water at the plant. It's also used to run some of our pumps for seal water and fire protection water.
Okay. Questions, discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding water booster station project construction. Value $831,164. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to T-Buck Construction in the amount of $831,164. Source of funding is Department 169 wastewater WRF and water booster station SRF loan.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Keating. Alderwoman Kelly, and I think Karen Smith is on this one, just in case. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding 2018 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle with a value of $38,092. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase from MHQ Municipal Vehicles in the amount of $38,092. Funds are available in Department 150, Nashua Police Department, Surf and Risk Management.
And who is our other visitor?
Brian Soika, Fleet Supervisor.
Yeah,
National
Karen
Police.
Smith,
Business manager?
yeah, business manager. Any discussion or questions of the PD? Alderwoman Karen.
Yeah, thank you. Why is money coming out of risk? Was this to replace one of the vehicles that was in an accident, or?
This was a total vehicle.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. I would like to follow up on Alderman Karen's question. So somebody is coming from the other party involved in this accident, or if the city is, if there's litigation, we are getting our fair share, depending upon what
We're
had
gonna get
happened with this.
What the value of the vehicle is, yes.
Yes, okay. As would with any other accident that occurs with any citizen. Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for Board of Public Works Pension Administration Services. Value of $49,000. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and contingent upon Board of Aldermen approval, award the contract to Hooker and Holcomb in the amount of $49,000. Source of funding is various DPD administration pension accounts.
Discussion? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I wonder if I could invite my colleagues up, if I may, at
Yes,
this
that's-
particular time. I'd like to introduce Mr. Fredette and Mr. Danielson. Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to give a very brief background of basically what's happening here. The BPW pension, it's separate from the state. It's very unique. The municipality, the city of Nashua, we run it. We've been running it since about 1947, and I'm very happy to say, as the liaison and one of the trustees, the pension system is 86.6% funded. So it's one of the lowest pensions that is very well run by the city. The problem at hand that's coming up on the horizon, currently the software that the city owns that kind of runs this is being, the admin is being phased out. And with it being phased out, we're going to need either to get brand-new software or look at another venue. If we were to get our own particular software, this could be a cost to the city of around about $100,000 annually. It would probably even cost us even more to have people to run it and maintain it within that time. So we currently have a contract with Hooker and Holcomb. They manage it right now, part of the program, and they would be working with this particular delivery. There's a lot of good things about this. Right now, with having a third party running this particular type of thing, it seems to fall in line with other municipalities. They do have that equally as well as compared to us. The other thing with this, it will reduce city staff costs to the city that are currently people running this. And again, it frees up the question with the admin program. And yet, we're not giving away any authority, even though it'll be run by the third party. We do have oversight over Hooker and Holcomb. Benefits, and more important to our employees that we have responsible to, they will be able to access their accounts better today, in the future with Hooker and Holcomb, than they can today. In other words, we're going to change the format. They're going to be paid monthly instead of weekly, okay? But any employee, even if you're not retired, will be able to access the computer program and go on and get up-to-the-minute information. It seems a lot better, and it provides a better customer service to the people that depend upon us to run this particular program. And even though we're spending $49,000 on this particular program, again, the cost savings is in the city's maintenance of this. So this and I'm proud to say it comes with the full recommendation of the Board of Trustees. It will be a 5-year contract, and I guess 5-year contracts will have to be brought before the full board and voted by the full board. But as one of the liaisons and trustees to the Board of to the pension board, I think this is a very good deal. And if I may say, it comes with full recommendation from the Board of Trustees of the pension system. If there's any questions, I yield my time to Mr. Danielson, who could be available for any questions.
Alderwoman Karen.
Okay, thank you. And when is this monthly stipend going to come out, and have the employees been notified of this?
I'll refer to Mr.
Change?
Danielson.
Oh, okay. See?
Uh,
He lucked out.
Derek Danielson, Assistant Treasurer. We're anticipating beginning the monthly payments in July, and the employees will be notified in advance. We were waiting to get this contract approved before we notify the employees. However, in the annual report that the Board of Trustees just issued, we did mention that this was something that was coming down the pike.
Follow-up. Who got the annual report? You don't send that out to your pensioners, do you?
We don't have the email addresses of the
Okay.
pensioners.
So really, they don't know unless they happen to hear about it.
Correct. They would have to speak with somebody active or check the website.
Okay. I guess I guess there's some concerns because you're dealing with employees that have been getting weekly checks forever and a day, and then to get this dumped on them, I think they need to have an advance on that, you know?
Mr. Mayor, we understand that.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
but the fact is, I don't think you can find many groups that are retired that get weekly pension checks. It's usually monthly, including Social Security. So they're going to be notified ahead
Okay.
of time, so they'll be fully aware of it.
Okay.
And they're going to be paid, the plan is, now I'm not sure if it's going to work that way. The plan is they'd get their last check in the last week of June, and then the first week of July, they'd get the whole 4 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So it
I
shouldn't
think
be any
it's just-
problem for them,
Okay,
but
well,
they will be notified of that.
okay. I think it's important because.
Yes. Yes, I do too.
Okay, thank you. If we can update it, I don't have a problem with that, but you're talking about people who've been getting checks for 30 years, and, so you want them to know, and a lot of them don't use computers, so they don't have access to that kind of thing. But I think it's a great idea if we can
Alderman O'Brien.
outsource it.
Thank you, and Alderman Karen, what you say is so true. At these trustees meetings, we do take into account, we do have sometimes visitors of people who have retired. They are welcome to the trustee meetings, and they have shown up. And yes, some of them are not really computer savvy and everything else, and we're trying to take that all into account.
Thank you.
And like Mr. Fedett has mentioned, I think this will be a better program for both the beneficiaries, our employees, retirees, and for the city. And hopefully, this follows like with the other pension plans where if you get a pension plan with the state, it does come monthly and not weekly. We're very unique with the weekly. So this kind of saves in itself in some of the administration costs from going monthly to weekly.
I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you. I just had a quick question about the numbers. So it says the first year is 42,000, but then there's an additional 16% for contingency.
So I added, Derek Danielson, Assistant Treasurer, I added contingency just in case because this is something that you need experience with, this contract. Some of it had to be based on estimates, number of retirements per year that we currently calculate, number of estimates. So we put in a number based on an average per year, 9, I believe, full retirements. And then if any additional people above the 9 want a full retirement calculation or an estimate, and they call into the service center, that would be a cost, I believe it's $500 or $250. So I put in a few extra just in case something like that, more people than anticipated need estimates.
So would you see that contingency continuing year to year?
Well, it would be based on experience. So if the 42,000 was adequate, or 45,000 was adequate, then we'd budget the next year based on that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding recommendation to lock electricity rate. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to EDF Energy Services at a rate of 0.0867 cents per kilowatt hour.
And Mr. Kukin, would you please explain this item?
We have 25 accounts that we've been updating for electricity separately. They had to do with potential net billing and all those kinds of things. But that was a one-year contract. That contract came up in November as being due, so we've extended that out. Standard Power is a broker that we work with the Mine Falls and the Jackson hydros, and they put it out to bid for us, and the low bid was the result, the EDF.
And I think the end date of this contract, which will be 2020, corresponds with the end date of our other,
It does, yes.
the remainder of the accounts that were
Yes,
committed by contract previously.
That's correct.
What is the end date for the current school department contract?
I believe it's also 2020. I think they went the same term, but with a different company
Yeah,
than what the city used.
yeah, that's my recollection as well. Any discussion, questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Unfinished business, we don't have any. New business, none. Record of expenditures. Is there a motion on the record of expenditures?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period of October 12th, 2018 to November 1st, 2018.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the record of expenditures is approved. There are only 3 signatures so far, so I can't even read the handwriting, so I can't tell who signed it or not, but,
I did.
You're probably looking at Brandon's scribble.
I did.
all right, so we
It's
need
evidence.
Alderwoman Karen and.
No, I sign.
You need mine.
You
You're
have two
missing one.
missing.
3 plus you.
We're missing 2 people.
Oh, one is not even a signature, it's just like a.
That's him.
That's you? That is a signature.
I hope this is,
You know, I read today that, you know, with respect to the disputes regarding the signatures and all down in Florida, that people in the millennial generation, they don't know cursive and they don't really have signatures, and I guess this bears it out.
Literally a wave.
Because this is just a line. That's how they used to
Squiggly
sign.
I'm a
Dr.
millennial and I have a
Laws.
signature.
That's how they used to sign when people came in and said, "Make your mark." You know, they couldn't even read and write. That's how.
You
it
think about how much time I saved in my life not
Yes.
writing out a
Mr.
signature.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may say, I think the school sisters of Notre Dame would be quite concerned if you could not read my handwriting.
All right, well, I'll try to keep that in mind, that that is a signature, rather than just a
Line.
kind of a mistaken pen mark. All right,
You're a good sport.
general discussion. Anyone have anything to discuss? Public comment? Anybody from the public? No, it doesn't appear so. Remarks by Alderman? Alderman O'Brien.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the meeting is adjourned. Meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 6:28 PM.